Welcome to From the Sidelines, a production of UB Athletics. I'm Chris Saunders with co-host Bacchus Rolle. Today we're talking about sports administration, women in sports administration, women in sports in general as well, and maybe a little bit of gymnastics. We're here with BOC Vice President Cora Hepburn. You're watching From the Sidelines. We'll be right back. Welcome back to From the Sidelines, a production of UB Athletics. I'm Chris Saunders with co-host Bacchus Rolle. Today we're talking with BOC Vice President Cora Hepburn, but that's not all she's done. So let's first get an introduction to Cora. Cora, thanks for joining us. Number one, tell us a little bit about your journey in sports, because you've done a lot of things.
Well, for starters, let me say that I don't like to toot my own horn. I prefer someone actually talking about my accomplishments. But it goes all the way back to my high school days in SAC, St. Augustine's College. That is where I started all of my sporting events: volleyball, basketball, softball, track and field, swimming.
Back in the day, did you have a choice?
No, not at all. Not at all. I must say that Lou Adley saw some potential in me, and I was under his training ever since.
So talk a little bit about after you got out of SAC. We know you a lot for volleyball. Talk about your involvement with volleyball, the national team, and everything like that.
Volleyball, well, of course, it started from being on the SAC high school team. Mr. Adley actually entered the high school team in the night league.
Right.
And that's how we were selected on the national team.
Right.
So we went from SAC team on the national team. Of course, we went as ball girls. We went as ball girls. But we were still excited because, we were a part of the national team. And by so doing, practicing, you're looking at the older players, and your desire is to be better than them because you want to take their spot on the team.
Right.
So you practice hard, you go to practice. We practice outside a lot. So in bad weather, you upset because practice canceled. So that's how it started for volleyball. Went from being a player, captain of the team, coach of the national team, president of the Volleyball Federation, first female and only.
Female so far.
Yeah,
Yep.
so far. And now vice president of the Bahamas Olympic Committee.
All right, I want to take you a little bit back to volleyball a bit. What's been some of your fondest memories of volleyball? I know that we've hosted CVC. The Bahamas has been very competitive on the female side at CVC. What has been one of your fondest memories of being in volleyball here and representing the Bahamas?
Well, we actually hosted the CVC, the Caribbean Volleyball Championship. And it was the year that we had a brand new spanking Secondal GLI6 chip. So we hosted that tournament, and we were all involved because it was myself, Margaret, Bridget, Jenny. We were all a part of the team, but we were all involved in the organization of the championship. So we came second. We won the championship, we came second.
If I remember, it was to Jamaica, right? Or was it Barbados?
Barbados,
yes.
Barbados. So Dr. Barrett was with us,
Right.
and he spoke with us after after the tournament, and he said, you know, your focus, you guys were not really focused on playing the game. Y'all were more focused on the tournament giving its best. So, you know, because I was involved with the hotel, Margaret was involved in some other area, Bridget in some other area, you know, and it was even Jenny. So it was a number of us. And so after that tournament, he met with us, and he said that he wanted to go through some, you know, some training with us so we can know how to focus on the game. Because the next year, we had to go to Barbados.
To their new gym, I think their gym was
Their
new
gym.
at that point too.
And their gym, even much larger than our gym. And we went there. And in the championship, to the Bahamas and Barbados. And listen, after the last ball was served, you couldn't hear a pin drop in that stadium.
Yep.
And we brought the championship back to the Bahamas.
Right.
So that was an exciting year and good experience in volleyball for me.
You also talked about your experience in becoming an administrator, first being Bahamas Volleyball Federation president. What made you decide, I need to take the reins of this federation? Not to say that there was anything bad going on, but what was the push for you to say, I need to do this?
That, you know, there's something in sports, I shouldn't even say in sports, in a lot of areas in our community where you have this thing, the old boys club, okay? And it was like sports was just for men, you know, for them to be in the president, that kind of thing. And if it was a female on the board, they will have an assistant secretary or a secretary. And basically that was the positions that you will have. And I felt with my, oh Lord, how would I describe myself? I was always a competitive person, okay? So I decided that, okay, I'm gonna run. So I was elected treasurer of the New Providence Volleyball Association. Then I moved on to the federation. I was vice president, I think, of the federation, and then eventually I was the president and the first female president of Bahamas Volleyball Federation. But I did that because I wanted other females to become a part as well. And we did a good job of that in volleyball, I must say, because like I mentioned earlier, when I was president, we had, it was myself, it was Margaret, it was Bridget, it was Jenny. We had at least 5 female, and I remembered Mr. Ferguson, Vince Ferguson, and Lou Adley asking Joey DeMerit and Noel Sutherland how they let that happen.
I want to talk about women empowerment in sports a little bit later, but also you also created and was the progenitor of the Gymnastics Federation. Why was that important to start and to make that push here?
My daughter did gymnastics. And in gymnastics, you will find where the teenage girls, once they reach that age, they are no longer interested in volleyball. So one day I sat and I said to Barbara, I said, you know, the only way for you to retain these girls is to form a federation so they can go to international competition, go just to the little right. Competition, go to Florida, compete against other, and that will keep them going, right? And so she decided, okay, let's form a federation. I was actually elected the vice president, but after the passing of Barbara, I ended up being the president of gymnastics.
Right.
Good, interesting, very interesting. So, Ms. Hepburn, you talked about Lou Adley identifying something in you, the late Lou Adley seeing something in you and pushing you. For me, my question would be, were there, at that time, there were a few women, I guess, involved in national sports, etc. Were there any notable females that helped to push and helped to create that passion for you?
Definitely. I always tell the story about me coming to Nassau from Rikers Island. All right. When I came down, my parents had to identify someone in the area that will be a mentor for me. That person was Daisy Hannah Walker. Okay. Now, Daisy was an icon in sports, and she was in Form 4, and I went. So Daisy was involved in sports. So I actually will stay back because Daisy is my mentor. She's supposed to make sure I get home, So one day we were all on the field just goofing around, and we had a couple of the junior girls who were actually training, running. So I, with a broken hand, because I had a cast on my hand, I said to Daisy, I say, "Boy, I hope that's not the best they have." I said, because I could be there running right now, with this cast on my hand. Daisy literally took that, went to the coach and said, "I have someone who could beat your girl running, So Mr. Gavin, the following day, asked me to come out to do track and field because they wanted this race now. And they did. With the broken arm, I beat the girl. It went from there.
Wow. Well, go ahead.
But talking about Mr. Adley, it's something in me that Mr. Adley felt, no matter what sport, I was the person to do that sport. Because I remember when they introduced discus for females in the high school, he came to me and he said, "Cora, you're going to throw the discus." I said, "Discus, Miss Ali, what is the discus?" "Oh, you don't worry about it. I will show you." Right. And, it was so funny because when we went to the track meet, he said to me, he said, "Okay, now you have the discus and a long jump going on the same time." So I was doing the long jump, so he went over and he told them that after I'm finished, I will come and I will throw the discus. Well, after the long jump was finished, I went over and they say I had 3 throws. So the first one, the lady came back and she said to Miss Ali, she said, "Okay, she won, say, her distance." So that was the beginning of the distance.
That was the beginning right there. All right, so, well, like we said, Cora Hepburn is probably and arguably, to some extent, the most powerful woman in sports in the Bahamas as one of the vice presidents of the Bahamas Olympic Committee. She's also, like we said, been the vice president and then president of the Bahamas Gymnastics Federation. So why don't we have more women in sports administration? We'll talk about that when we come right back from the sidelines.
Amigo simply means someone that is dedicated, that is fierce, committed to whatever it is that they have their focus on.
The sky is the limit. It's believing in yourself and driving, self-aware, and having that ability to continue, and keep on going.
I'm blessed to have chosen to come home and support my country, and I've seen the power of universities and the power of sport in those universities for other universities away, and to come back and support sport in our country is been a great thing to be a Mingo.
Welcome back from the sidelines. I'm Chris Saunders. We're here with Bahamas Olympic Committee Vice President Cora Hepburn, the most powerful woman in sports in the Bahamas. Cora, being in that position, how important is that, you think, for women's representation in sports, especially in administration, first of all?
Well, in sports administration, the importance of trying to encourage females to be a part of, well, let's look at the Bahamas Olympic Committee. To be a nominee for the Bahamas Olympic Committee Executive Board, you have to be involved in some federation, local federations. So you have to encourage females to be interested in becoming a part of those local federations so that they can put themselves forward to be an executive on the Bahamas Olympic Committee Board. Now, if we talk about the International Olympic Committee, their aim and objective is to have 50-50 gender equality. You know, this Olympic, 2020 Tokyo, they wanted to have a 50-50 balance, but they were successful in achieving 48. But definitely in 2024, Paris, they will have a 50-50 balance. And if you even look at the administration of the IOC, you will see that the numbers in female representation increase by the year. Because in London, I think they had women representation of about 33%. And when it was Rio, it was like 40-something%. So it's increasing, because what they did was they amended their constitution so that every National Olympic Committee must have at least 2 females on the board.
Important is that, you think, to have the administration, so a female representation in administration, to translate into female participation in sports? How important is that to have the administration to promote the female representation in sports?
But you know, surprisingly, female representation in sports is higher than the male. In fact, if you go and you look at medal counts from the Olympics, the females are above the males. You see? And that is why the conversation started, because, hey, we have the larger representation of males, so we have to have some representation on committees, in executive positions, and the IOC found that favorable, and that's the reason why they made that amendment. Now, I would love to see the Bahamas Olympic Committee Executive Board having more than 2 females during the next election. Hopefully, I'm hoping that we can have more than 2.
So how do you promote that? How do you? Not me. How do you, Cora Hepburn, Vice President of the BOC, promote that to say to the females who are administrators, you need to come to the forefront? Every
female that I know is involved in federations, you know, I let them know that is the procedure. You know, you can be nominated. You can ask anyone who is active to put you forward. Ask your federation to put you forward. But you have.
That's right. Is there enough interest from female administrators to say, well, I'm just doing it because I want to be a part of?
I think it can be more.
How do you literally get out there and tell them, ladies, you need to get out there? Is that
would be a mission that I will have to go on to get that message across? But that is just, you're in the old boys club and you have to push, you know.
I don't know though, because Ms. Hepburn, to be honest, the women that I come in contact with who are involved in federations, the majority of them are the doers. They seem to be very well organized. So I don't believe that would be a hard sell. I think, well, if you know the home that I come from and who my wife is,
Of course, of course.
You kind of understand that it's not an agenda, so to speak, to say I need to show that I am just as good as, but I want to show that ain't nothing wrong with me. You know,
Yes,
and I think I hearing that from you.
But let me ask you the question. If I am a part of your federation, right? You want to be nominated to be on the BOC board. Maybe your buddy want to be nominated. So where the nomination going? Where it's coming from?
If the federation itself have more
Have to nominate.
have more males.
So right, because then you and your buddy you all will end up getting the nomination. Now with her, she would probably she can go out to another federation and ask them to nominate her, as long as she's holding that position on that board. You see, so it's still that little iffy situation there with them.
Is that something that maybe the BOC needs to look at in terms of their nomination procedure and protocols in the Constitution?
To be quite honest with you, Chris, the International Olympic Committee will have to do further amendments and say, okay, we're going to move now from a mandatory 2 to a mandatory 3 or 4, and then we will see that. You know, if we look in just the other day, I think it was the Santa Club of Nassau. They had their little session in Parliament.
Yes.
That is similar. What they're asking is what the IOC has in place. They are asking for the government to make some amendment that 10, 20, 30% of women have to sit in Parliament. That is what the IOC has in place at the moment. You know, so hopefully for them, I hope it happens.
So we find that a lot of the women who are involved in administration in sports in the different or the various federations, probably I'd say, but 95% of those persons have played that sport. How then do we transition from the player to the administrator? Is it an innate thing, or is it something that I see Miss Hepburn doing and I say, boy, I could do that. I just need to follow her footsteps, or is it something that's burning inside?
And to the executive, just because it's people see your work and they feel that, man, why don't you run for? And that's how it is. So I think you need to just go there, do you, let them see your worth, and let them want you. That's how it ended up for me.
Now, we talked about you being the most powerful woman in sports in the Bahamas. Jumping over to another sport, Pauline Davis-Thompson was arguably the most important woman in track and field and athletics. First, she was on the IAAF Women's Council, then was on the IAAF General Council, becoming, like I said, probably the most important and most prominent woman in sports administration and track and field. Do we need to make another concerted push globally? And when I say globally, I mean in terms of the entire, nationalistically across the federations, to have more representation of females internationally in those types of arenas, such as FIVB, FIBA, those types of things? Is that a push that we need to make because of the push of women in sports? Is that something that the Bahamas needs to do?
Listen, to give you a little history, when I was president of the Bahamas Volleyball Federation, I remember when I went to the FIVB General Council meeting, and I said to Acosta that I would not be running for president anymore. He was so disappointed. He pleaded for me not to step down. And I spoke to him with what was happening, you know, boys pulling, they won't do it because they see you doing it and they think it's easy until they get there, you know, and because I remember that was when Tony Roach wanted to run as president, and he came and he talked to me and he asked me if I would give him the support, you know, he wants to run as president. So, you know, and I'm a person, if you feel you're ready, and if I feel I'm backing on the side, I will support you. But that didn't last as long as, like the people say, the body lasted ever, you know. So, but I personally feel as long as we get that international push down, because when we look at the Olympic movement, there are three main pillars in the Olympic movement. We have the International Olympic Committee. We have your International Federation, the FIGs, the FIBA, you know, and then you have the NOCs, okay? And that is how, like I said, and then you have the NOC that Bahamas is a part, the Bahamas Olympic Committee. Then the Bahamas Olympic Committee have about 23 federations under them. So the broader the scope, the more now I should be seeing more females coming forward, you know? So, but I mean, it's in sports, my, some of the most exciting moments for me in sports, when I travel with youth, okay? Because, you know, on the IOC use education through the youth as far as the Olympic movement is concerned, okay? And when you travel with them, you realize that they don't require much, you know? They just want a hug, they want a smile, they want you to tell them how beautiful they are, and, you know, they just want you to encourage them if they do good, bad, whatever, in the race. And I love to do that with them. But my gratification is if I'm walking down the street and one of them walk out and give me a big hug and say, Miss Hepburn, how you doing? You know, that is heart melting.
We talked about the Olympic movement. Is it possible, you think, within the next decade, 2 decades, that the Bahamas will have some serious representation at the IOC level? Do you think that that's a possibility? Obviously, we're not talking about presidency, but is that a possibility that we could actually have some sort of representation?
I am sure if the IOC continue in its quest to see the gender equality, we will see much more females at the head in
I was talking a little bit more about the Bahamas representation at the IOC level. Do you think that that's a possibility in the next 10 years, 20 years?
If we have, I guess if we have females back then who ready to exert themselves and go forward, why not? Because all you have...
That's a mantra to live by. Just put your name forward. We'll be right back. You're watching From the Sideline.
Being a student athlete at COB, I think it taught me a lot, you know. I mean, in terms of like, I guess how to balance schoolwork and, you know, like almost like a full-time job. Being an athlete is like a full-time job. You gotta wake up in the morning for the practices, you got gym time, and then you still have to find time to even then do extracurricular work, even if it means extra studying or if it means like working on your game otherwise. You know, that was a full-time job.
2016, I graduated from CC Sweden. Yeah, after that I went to Holland College in Canada. Kind of didn't work out, so I was here for a year trying to get some money to come at UB. So I came at UB, then I got Miss Rolle and Miss Cartwright was coming to help me out. pushing me to send my applications in and even the fees. So, and Coach Bacchus Rolle, he just pushing me from day one. He just keep telling me he want me to be on the team, he wanted me to push, he wanted me to eat, he keep giving me confidence in myself. I give those people thanks for what I am now.
We getting wins and we finally getting the respect I feel that we deserve from a long time.
I believe that we could do great things.
It's not knowing that the son of it, so I wouldn't be surprised if my son wouldn't end up on the team, if my grandson wouldn't end up on the team. But he got to carry on the son's legacy, you know what I mean? And the son's legacy ain't nothing to play around with.
No.
So you gotta ask around. So I am a COB girl.
I'm a UB Mingle.
And we are UB family.
Welcome back to From the Sidelines. I'm Chris Saunders. We're here with Cora Hepburn, BOC Vice President. And Cora, we talked about women in sports, we talked about sports administration, but I want to get into, what do you think sports means to society? How does sports help to mold, influence, impact society? Why is it an important and integral part of our nationalistic development, our societal development?
Sports through youth is to build a better world. And if we look at it in that way, and if we give it the necessary attention that it needs, then we will be in excellent shape. You know, we talk about the Golden Girls, we talk about the Golden Knights, and I always say to people in sports, we have golden girls and boys in every discipline in sports in the Bahamas. We just need the funding.
Yes, Mom.
I was about to say, you said once we put
What is necessary?
what is necessary. I want to hear it from your mouth.
Facilities, funding, time. You know, I told the story about us and being the leaders in sports in the Caribbean when I played volleyball, okay? During that time, Trinidad, Canada, Dominican Republic made a decision to go pro. Now these are teams we used to go there and beat upon. And today, we have Canada, we have Dominican Republic, we have Trinidad to the Olympics.
Yep. Because even you said I want to say it was '94 when we hosted CVC at Kendall Isaacs. It was an upset that y'all lost.
Yes, yes.
That was an upset. I mean, I just want to put into perspective how you talk about cream of the crop. At that point, that was a huge upset that y'all.
And that's why the following year, we were even more hungry when we went there, because we knew we had to go and bring our championship back.
So Ms. Hepburn, I got to go back, as when we asked what was necessary, you said facility, funding, and time.
Time, yes.
The growth of sports, and I want to go around time, because when we talk about time, and when you put time in, and I'm a coach, and I know but the time, and I cannot be paid for that time, to be honest with you. From an IOC level, do you believe that the committee should determine or connect with federations and determine that there is an individual, or that is an individual who we believe, if we put them on a stipend, they will find the time and develop these golden knights and these golden girls?
Well, I don't think it will go from that perspective. It has to be a country decision, because what Canada did, what Trinidad did, they took the national team and they said, you will not go back to your job. You will play volleyball. You will play 3-4 hours of volleyball in the morning, and you will play 2-3-4 hours of volleyball in the evening. That's your job. That's all they did.
But to put it a little bit into perspective, though, Trinidad has what, 1 point some odd million. Canada has several million. DR has several million. So obviously they have a lot more financing. Does that mean that we need to, as a country, prioritize some sort of funding for sports?
I thought they referred to the little Bahamas as the little rich Caribbean country.
I know. I'm just saying. I'm just to be. I guess just to be a little bit of fair, that they do have a bigger, a broader base to choose from, and probably a broader base to get a little bit more funding from. But do we need to prioritize? And I don't know if I'm overstepping with Bacchus talking about time, but do we need to prioritize funding somehow to impact society?
Yeah, you know, they talk about lotteries for years, but nothing has been done.
I
don't think the seriousness of sports.
Exactly.
There, that's my personal view. I don't think we are serious about sports because, listen, for this little country to have the best 400-meter runner or the best 200 female runner in this country, the best 400 male runner in this little country, we shouldn't have a problem.
So let me put this in perspective. And so yesterday, my son and I studying for a social studies exam, and we went to the Globe. And I said, "Can you find the Bahamas?" This 8-year-old, "Can you find the Bahamas?" He says, "I know you're right next to Florida, but Daddy, I can't see it."
Yep.
I said, "You see them little dots right there? That little things right there?" He said, "Oh, I think I see Andres."
Right.
I said that to say, you're right. If we serious about wanting to produce proper character, because sports really builds character. Mm-hmm. If we're serious about wanting to produce a country where all of our persons aspire to be great, regardless of the discipline, sporting or otherwise, we would consider seriously funding in a different kind of way than we do it now.
What I'm seeing though, with the younger parents, if their kid is in sport, they are supporting them, they are traveling with them, and that's what a child needs.
Yes.
And that's when you're going to get the best performance from them. You know, I have had friends who played volleyball with me. They have never seen their parents in the gym.
Exactly.
And I don't think parents realize what that does to a child, to a kid. So all of that family connection and that family support is necessary. And you will see the growth. And the thing about it, when you see a child is involved in sports, check their grades. Mm-hmm. Check their school grades. If that family is involved and in that sporting, that grade is right on point.
I want to take you real back to putting it into perspective. When we talked about the Golden Girls winning in 2000, if 5 females came from one town in the United States of, let's say, 300,000, about the size of Tallahassee, that would have been huge news on itself that they made the Olympic team. And at the same time, 3 of them ran subpar 11 seconds. That would have been huge news. And I say that to say that we do have the talent here in the Bahamas, and we just need to have the...
We need
what was it? The funding, the time, and time. So I think that's something that we need to consistently look at, and I'm glad that we got a chance to talk to you about that. Thanks a lot, Cora Hepburn, Bahamas Olympic Committee Vice President and Bahamas Gymnastics Federation President. We'll be right back. You're watching From the Sidelines. So as we wrap up here with Vice President of the Bahamas Olympic Committee, Cora Hepburn. Cora, final words on what do you think we need to do as a society to help build up sports and society right now?
Well, I mentioned the facilities. I mentioned the finances. But I will end by saying the Olympic motto, faster, stronger, higher.
Definitely something to look forward to. Bacchus, I know this has been a very interesting segment for us. Final thoughts for you.
For me, I love women in sports. And so for me, I would only ask Ms. Hepburn to inspire a young woman right now who is either in sports itself, participating in sport, or participating in a local federation at the administrative level.
Thanks a lot. Like you said, if we want to have parity in sports and have sports really help to develop society, we need parity in terms of gender, and we need parity in terms of people being participatory. You don't always have to be an athlete to help develop the sport, but you have to get out there, and as Cora says, you got to put your name out there. So thank you so much for watching. On behalf of the entire team here from the sidelines, including our special guest, Cora Hepburn, co-host Bacchus Rolle, I'm Chris Saunders from the sidelines.